Okay, so let's go ahead and elevate our thoughts. Thank Jesus for being here tonight with us. Let's thank for this opportunity to study the gospel. Let's hope that tonight's lesson can bring us some hope, can bring us some relief for our future. Let us know that we're always going to have God and Jesus with us as long as we call their name. And so be it. Okay, so today we're going to start chapter 25. Chapter 25 entitled "Seek and You Will Find," and today we're gonna study the topic, "If you help yourself, then heaven will come to your aid." So before we start going through the slides, I just wanted to read what's on the beginning of this chapter on the gospel on Matthew. It says, "Who is the man among you will give a stone to his son when he asks for bread? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a serpent? If therefore you, being evil as you are, know how to give good things to your children, it is even more reasonable that your Father who is in heaven will give good things to those who ask him." So the biggest thing about this chapter is that, do we know how to ask? And also, do we know how to wait for the things that we are asking? And do we know how to pursue those things? Because it's not just that we can be waiting for it without doing anything. There is work to be done, and there is ways in this chapter that we're going to talk about the collective work, the individual work, and how everything comes in place when we ask to God for the things that we need. And I think this intro was very, very interesting, because we, for us that have children, again, if the children ask us, we're gonna give them what they need, right? Do they deserve what they're asking for? Is it good for them? This is another thing. It's not everything that the children ask that we're gonna give it to them. We as parents, we know what is good for them. So the same thing with God. Sometimes the things that we ask are not meant to be at that time, are not good for us at that time, and it's very hard to understand that we don't get what we need all the time. But I think this lesson is gonna be good for help us understand that a little bit more. Okay, what is going on here? For some reason my slides don't wanna help me. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Can you see the next one? Yes. Okay. So the maxims of Jesus: ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened into you. So one of the questions on this maxim is that, how are we knocking that door? We have to have our hearts open in order to understand what the meaning of this maxim that Jesus is talking about. How are we knocking? How are we asking? For everyone that asks, receive, and he that seek, find, and to him that knock, it shall be opened. Again, do we know exactly the way we should be asking, and do we know exactly what we should be doing in order to wait for the grace that we are asking to God? So these two similar maxims, they have very similar meaning. The seek and you shall find, and help yourself, and the heavens will come to your aid. Because they have similar meaning, and we we should know where we should direct our strength, our strength. Um, the law of work and the law of progress. Those are the two laws that we always have to have in mind when we are asking for something. Um, Again, we have to work for the stuff that we need, and we have to work for the stuff that we ask. We can't just, I think the next one is gonna, yeah, the next one. So the principle of the two laws on these maxims are law of work and law of progress. The law of work is a natural law, induces the man not to accommodate. We can't just think that we are going to ask and sit down and receive what we want. We need to work for it. We need to achieve it. Nothing comes at nothing comes at random, and everything is moved by the law of action and reaction. And again, if we don't get what we need now, what we're asking now is because probably it's not meant to be. When we talk about the law of work, we're not just talking about physical work, but a lot of times too, we're talking about mental work. Um, how many times we ask for peace, but do we give back peace? Do we how basically we can't ask for something that we can't build within our space. And the slides are going to talk a little bit more too regarding the individual work and the collective work, but it is our job to build that foundation of whatever we want from it's the law of action and reaction, right? The book, you give out to the energy to whatever you want to get it back. So it is our duty to enforce the base around us. You want peace, create peace around you, and that peace will come. The same way is with everything. We cannot ask for peace if we just create hate. So it's almost like common sense, but this chapter, and again, just regarding this, seek and you will find, sometimes is around you. What do you need? But we seem to sometimes travel all over to find something that if it's around us, is going to be with us forever. So again, it is we need to better ourselves, better this place around us, so we can ask and we will receive. And little by little, every effort transforms in something big. If each individual does its part, it will transform in something bigger. And the progress is another law, arise out of work. So the maxims are also ways of satisfactions of two needs: material nourishment and spiritual nourishment. We all need material, but especially spiritual. We cannot just be happy with material satisfaction. We need to fill our hearts with stuff that make us happy. Once we are happy, once the people around us are happy, when we get the material satisfactions, we are going to be able to enjoy those more. We see several times, so many wealthy people that unfortunately they don't have what's most important. They don't have that. They're not happy. Their hearts are not happy. So the necessity of being in peace is to make your heart happy, your spirit happy, the ones around you, and whatever comes in material, we will know how to utilize that in better ways, for sure. Always better to go on vacation when you're happy than if you're not happy, right? You're not going to be able to enjoy. And with the ones that you love around you, for sure. The needs of the body give way to those of the spirit. So again, it's make our spirit happy, and the material, the body, also, not even getting too deep into that, but talking about the health too. I mean, it all has to do with that. A happy person is a healthier person, for sure. Hopefully I'm not going too fast, but if I am, you guys can raise your hand and stop me, okay? So the individual and collective progress, it's the man's duty. Again, how many times we say, I will not do it, no one else is doing it, or I will do it because everyone else is doing it. It always starts with us. Sometimes we don't really think that, our hearts will be happy with whatever everyone else is doing. We don't even think, because everyone else is doing, we're going to do it. Well, is that really going to make us happy? Remember that every little act among other acts become the collective work. That's basically what this slide is talking about. And the act of love can spread, not just the same way that the hate and the bad, the act of love can spread with each individual act, for sure. Here you see on the slide, the man working by himself and, a group of ballerines. It's basically each one is doing their individual work, and that's how the collective comes along. And the reincarnation, it's the best gift that humanity can receive. The humanity could not progress without the pre-existence and the re-existence of the soul. So I just made a little note here that talks about especially the way the humanity progressed during the reincarnation and the way it doesn't, because the progress that each person accomplished individually during its lifetime is very little. If souls departed every day without return, you can imagine that there will be no reason for humankind to be more advanced today than we were back in the day, on the early ages. If each birth would, if we would basically lose everything that we know every birth, because we would be a different soul, the soul would not come back. So by returning with the progress each time, we continue our progress. That's how we are now here, returning with the degree of progress, realized and acquiring something more each time. The soul passes gradually from the barbarian state to materialistic civilization, and then on to moral civilization, which hopefully is where we are working towards. And going back to the law of work, is if God exempt man from working with its body, the limbs would atrophy. I hope I'm saying that right. Atrophy, yeah. And with its intelligence, the spirit would remain in infancy. So I think this is pretty much self-explained, right? What we do with our children, we want to make them study, go to school. We teach them, housework, and once they grow up, a little bit more responsibilities here and there. And this is pretty much what God does to us. Imagine if everything would come on a tray. Here is the most advanced science research. You guys don't have to do anything for it. What would happen to us? So this is basically a good way to say, don't be lazy, because nothing is going to come in a tray. We have to work for it. Even though they could give everything to us, the spirits could just bring everything and say, here it is, but then the most there would be nothing to do. There would be nothing that we can accomplish ourselves. So with this, God is calling the work, mental and physical. God is giving us the chance to become better intellectual and moral through our reincarnation. It's up to us to take this chance. For this reason, the spirits do not spare man the work of researches and discoveries. And the meaning of the expression, help yourself, means that you should put all your effort in edifying work for yourself and the others. And how can God help us? From the moral point of view, we can ask light to illuminate our path, strength to resist the evil. This is pretty much everything that we ask when we are doing our prayers, when we are, having our gospel at home. Assistance from the good spirits, advices from the good spirits, and we will receive. I always ask when I pray, I said, God, give me if I have the merit. It's all about the merit. Do I deserve this now? Do I have the merit to have this grace now? Very important that we understand that. And how to ask, with sincerity, with faith, with confidence and fervor. So, I mean, I think for us that are Christians, and we're not just talking about spiritism, we're talking about good persons, good Christians. Um, it doesn't have, there is not any specific way to pray. You don't even need to pray. Have good thoughts, be a good Samaritan, do good things. Good things will come to you for sure. As long as you have the faith that, you know, what you're asking for doesn't have, that there's no formula. Oh, there we go again. There. And with humility, let's be humble without arrogance. If not, we'll be abandoned to our own strength. I don't really like that phrase. I had to put the way it was in the gospel. This is more about again, let's pray with fervor, let's pray with faith. Let's ask what we think that we deserve. Um, I think this is more talking about those that instead of spreading love, you spread hate. What is going to come back to you? You'll be abandoned to your straight because you are going to receive the stuff, the energy that you are giving back, giving out. You will get what you're giving out. That's that's the way I understand this. Not that you'll be abandoned by God. And the lesson transmitted by Jesus that we should strive in the search of what we need, that the help of God only occurs to those who work, using humility, sincerity, and faith. Such is the moral meaning of the words of Jesus. Seek and you shall find, ask and you shall be given, and knock and it shall be opened to you. Then one of the reflections that I wrote here is these maxims come to bring us courage and hope that the celestial door will remain open to us, not just today, but our entire existence, as long as we clearly learn how to ask with our hearts, with our spirit, and especially with faith. So again, here we're not talking about studying the gospel, studying the spiritism, or whatever religion you are. We're just talking about you speaking to God in your own way, with your heart, with your spirit, and especially using your faith. And you should receive what you ask if it's the right time and if you have the merit for it. Any remarks, any questions? Then we can do our final prayer if anybody would like to say something. We're good?
Yeah, no questions. Just a compliment. It's not about just asking. It's about the how we act as well. Because we can ask for many things, but that's why ask and they will give us. As the heaven will give us. So if we do our part, God will give us. So, but we need to do something. If we need to, the God's mercy or forgive our sins or something like that. So it will be very good if we understand the sins or the faults of someone else. So it's always good to understand the other side. So I think it's very, very about that.
Yeah, and when he says about being humble, right?
Right.
Look look at yourself in the mirror. How are you treating the others? How would you like to be treated? You asking for mercy? Are you giving mercy to your brothers and sisters? Right? Okay, so can I do the final prayer, Mark?
Let me add one other thought.
Yes.
Samantha, thank you for a excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Uh, I'm still only 2 years new to Spiritism, but what I have absorbed so far, and certainly am practicing right now, is uh, the principle that there's no one piece of literature, there's no one interpretation of that literature that paints a big enough picture. it can paint a beautiful small picture, very focused on a particular topic, particular concept, to-dos, not to-dos, and so on and so on. But that's simply one petal on the entire flower that
Yeah.
is Spiritism. And so I paid attention to everything. This is especially true with Kardec literature. When somebody speaks on the gospel or the book of Spiritism or mediumship or what have you, I pay particular attention because that's like the source of everything. Everything came after that. And yet, so many principles are much older than what Kardec wrote about. And many of the spirits call them out in their own books. So, you know, for me personally, if I haven't read enough Emmanuel, if I haven't read enough of the psychographs that are so popular right now and translated, then the impact of this one chapter would not be nearly as significant as it is today. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know, as a presenter or as somebody else that, you know, or for anybody that's being introduced to Spiritism, I don't know how best to convey that, but I loved every one of the slides you had because it made me do these associations with all this other information I've absorbed, which is really good validation for me. I'm paying attention.
So, you know, like on my view, I think that the gospel, these presentations, we didn't make them, okay? They come ready from Brazil, from the Confederation of Spiritism, or I think there's another one too. So we are just translating them, but everything. So if you look, well, unfortunately not in English, but if we look on YouTube on this presentation, you will find probably 5 or 6 different persons doing this with the same slides. Because the gospel is the base, right? And the interesting thing is, we're not talking about we're talking about the concept of spiritism, but with the gospel, we're not talking about any materialization or and we're talking about Jesus, the teachings of Jesus, and how the spiritists they see those passages. Because every chapter of the gospel, I'm not sure, I believe you probably have one or you have seen one, has a passage of Jesus. So it's the base. Even somebody that is not a spiritist can enjoy a presentation like this because it's talking about what a lot of Christian religions go by, which is the Bible, and this is in the Bible, of course, with a little bit different view. So I think this is the base, and then all the other books that you mentioned are great. When you have that knowledge and you have read them, you can definitely get a little bit more into this. And this is why we divide in such a small segments, because there is, like you said, there is a lot to know. And if you try to just jump into it, you're gonna go crazy. Very important to every single one to study. This was like 2 pages of the gospel of what, 450 pages.
So let me share something with you. I discovered Spiritism in June of 2018. And by August of 2018, I was living with a woman who was a lifetime Spiritist. Lifetime, 60 years old, Brazilian, speaks multiple languages. Not only knowledgeable on Kardec, but knowledgeable on so much more. And she opened up her library to me. And you know, once I pushed the Portuguese stuff to the side, I had this amazing library available to me. And so literally for 2 years, I've been reading 4, 5 books at a time. So I understand exactly what you said. I'm the rare duck. The beauty of this is I retired and I had nothing but time, and I had a serious interest from a spiritual standpoint, the light bulbs were going on every single day. You know, I was hooked. And now I couldn't get enough. At times it was like drinking from a fire hose, but at times I was able to regulate the flow and get through. And, you know, today, when I think about the books I've read at least once, the books I've read 2 or 3 times, and of course the study of the 5 Kardec books is perpetual. It's forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time I read it, you know, pick your favorite chapter in the gospel, come back 3 months later and read it again, it's going to mean something entirely different to you.
Yes.
Okay, so I got that right away. And that's part of the reason why I said what I said here at the end of this, is that I just wanted you to hear my perspective on this. I don't know if this applies to everyone, but
Yeah.
what
We wish everyone would be reading the amount of books that you are.
You know,
I'm not reading all of those
the other
books.
thing, you know, spiritism in America is relatively new.
Yeah.
In terms of the mass media and availability of literature and knowledgeable people doing what we're doing right now, you know, that's relatively new. Kardec Radio has a whole lot to do with that. The Spiritist centers have dovetailed off of that, and everybody's on board getting the word out. But what is interesting here is everybody's feeling their own way to do it. And I thought every opportunity I have to share my story with people who are delivering the messages, you have this perspective you can use for somebody new that comes along at some point.
Yeah.
I'm particularly, you know, let me just say this, professionally, at times during my career, I've been in front of large and small audiences of multiple generations. And I've become pretty adept at the principles of how to connect with my generation, the one that followed, 2 that followed, 3 that followed, and so on. I'm blessed to have gotten married and children late in life. And so my 19 and 22-year-old have taught me an entire language, not to mention technology. And I'm a technology guy. But my point in this is that if spiritism is, let me say that differently, to facilitate spiritism growing exponentially in the United States, it's not that there's a magic formula. It's that there's some perspectives and understandings that everybody who's delivering content needs to understand. I gave you one of them today. You know, yes, absolutely. Every single chapter of the gospel is essential, and you can dissect it so many different ways, and not just take one night to do it over a month and take this one passage and really dig deep into it. Yeah. Or you supplement it and you give rounded, integrated perspectives. You know, the topic of reincarnation can go so many different directions. And to a new spiritist, that's probably the toughest concept to grasp. Not accept, to grasp. There's so much to the reincarnation. You know, I get lost in all the discussions about the paraspirit. I totally love the discussions of the paraspirit. It's just, that's so science fiction for me.
What book are you reading now?
Let's see. I've got Spirit's Book and Gospel going. I've got Thought and Life. I've got Life. I forgot the last part of it. Life by Joanna De Angelis. I finished Paul and Stephen.
I'm just finishing Paul and Stephen now.
Oh my gosh.
I have like 20 more pages to go.
It's funny, when I just finished it last month, and I'm chomping at the bit to read it again. It's such a powerful book.
Yeah, it's very nice, yeah. Well, I'm glad we had you here with us today. I hope you will join us more.
Well, yeah, I think, Luisa, you heard this last time, right? Yeah, so Samantha, my intent is to eventually move to Las Vegas.
I heard that, yeah.
And so in the meantime, I'm transitioning out of Northern California, the Spiritist Center, Bezerra spiritual healing center that I've been affiliated with for 2 years. This is the month of transition, and this is where I'll be on Tuesday night.
Awesome.
And hopefully Saturday mornings also. So.
Awesome.
And,
So,
and you know, and the last thing I would say, I'm comfortable getting up and delivering content.
thank you. We'll definitely keep you in keep in touch with you.
Whether it's something I've done already or not, that's fine.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm gonna do the. Would you like to do the final prayer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
God, we thank you for your contributions tonight. Jesus, we thank you for your presence and the guidance you gave to all the spirits who joined us this evening. Discarnate and incarnate spirits have now received education to further their development. And for this, we are humbly grateful for the opportunity to continue doing these educational sessions, for the camaraderie that is established through dialogue, and for the ease with which the technology facilitates it all. We are so thankful for all that you bless us with. We ask for permission to close tonight's session, and in your name we pray, and so be it.
So Luisa, okay, tell me when you stop this.